Hey guys, it's Thomas from NurseMoneyTalk. Now, in this video, I actually want to talk about how to get into nursing school. But specifically, I want to talk about how you can get in there, or kind of like what your options might be if your GPA is on the low side. You know, if you have like bad grades, you do have because you do have like some options in front of you. Before I get to that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I want to go ahead and invite you and encourage you to hit that subscribe button, and also if you find this video helpful, to hit that thumbs up. And on this channel, I pretty much focus on nurses, nursing student, and pretty much kind of like the gamut of nurse life. As for what GPAs most schools are looking for when it comes to getting into nursing school, I would say most of them, you're probably looking at about a 3.0. Now, I think you can find some where the GPA, they can set a minimum GPA at a 2.5. And even some schools might actually set their minimum GPA at higher than a 3 point, but I think a 3 point probably I think that's probably a good number to look at. But I think with the GPA thing, there's something to kind of keep in mind, that I think there's two different aspects of the GPA for getting into nursing school. And so there's the minimum GPA that they say you have to even be considered for the program. And then there's the GPA that I would call like the GPA that's actually like your competitive GPA. So this GPA the minimum GPA, so this GPA might actually, allow you to apply, but this is the GPA that actually gives you a shot at actually even getting in. And so you might be wondering then, what's the difference between this GPA and this GPA? Well, the main, like I already said, just GPA, you won't even be considered if you don't have it. But the main thing with this GPA, you're pretty much competing against other students, right? And so if, let's say the minimum GPA is at a 3 point, right? So that's the minimum GPA to be considered. But if you have a situation where the vast majority of people applying to that program have a GPA at about 3.5, right? Then you can see that your GPA to have a shot at getting into the program probably needs to be somewhere around that 3.5, all else being equal. Of course, we know there's a lot of variabilities, interviews and whatnot that can kind of come and play to that. But just for simplicity, I think you kind of see where I'm getting to. Now, if you are in a situation where you think your GPA might be on the low side, or honestly, even if you don't think it's on the low side, regardless, the most important thing, or one of the, not the most important, but the first thing I think you should do is figure out what school you actually want to go to, or what schools you want to go to. So you can go to, you might already know this. If you don't, you can for sure go to nursemoneytalk.com/schools. Put in the information, look at, list of schools, choices, options, whatnot, right there. So once you have the list of schools that you actually want to go to, then you'll want to call the school and figure out what their GPA requirement is. Because if you think about it, I already mentioned so many different schools will have kind of various GPA requirements. So you don't really know if obviously there are, you can have a GPA that's so low that it's obvious that you have a low GPA, but I'll get to that later. But you don't really know what you're shooting for if you don't know what the target is. Does that kind of make sense? And so some people might say, well, you should shoot for a 4.0. Well, everybody should always shoot for a 4.0, but in terms of planning, that's not really very, very helpful. And so if you are in a situation to where, let's say, you have a 2.8, 2.9. And the school you're looking at has a minimum GPA of a 3.0, right? So your GPA is lower than what the school requires. Then there's a couple of options you have. The first option is to look for another school, right? I mean, if you're somewhere around the 3-point mark, you can probably just look for another school that maybe has like a lower GPA requirement. I think that's one that a lot of students will kind of not really like that answer, but I think that could potentially be the path of least resistance, even in the same state, like if you wanted to stay in the same state, or if you wanted to go out of state, you can potentially find schools that, that fit that, but yet have a lower GPA requirement. So that's what I would consider doing. After that, if you don't want to find another school and you're kind of really set on that particular school, the other option that I would look at is look at taking classes at a community college. What I would do is I would find a community college that's accredited and that I know that the classes will transfer. So make sure to check, make sure that the classes will transfer to whatever, whether you want to, whether you're at a university taking your prereqs and you want to transfer it back there before then you transfer, apply to a nursing school or whatever the case is. So just make sure it'll transfer. And then I would look at, first, I would look at taking classes there to kind of help boost your GPA. Probably look at taking like nursing related classes or nursing prereqs, maybe your biology, your human anatomy, human phys, or something of that nature to kind of help boost up your GPA, right? And then like while you're taking those classes, I would work your butt off to bring your to get A. So pretty much at this point you're probably looking for A. So if you look at it, if you have like a 2.8, 2.9, okay, if you get a B, that'd be, if you look at how to get like grade point averages, 2.8, 2.9, a B would be what, a 3 point. And so that won't really raise your average as much as like if you get that A, which then would be a 4 point, then that would actually help kind of bump up your grade a lot more. And then of course, if you have like a 3.1, and you're trying to get closer to that 3.5 or a 4-point range, then for sure you're going to need the A. Otherwise, that's not going to work for you. Does that kind of make sense? That's going to bring, because a 3.0 is that's the B average, and A is a 4.0. So like if you were already on like a 3.2 and then you get B's, that's a 3 point. That's just going to bring your average down. So you're for sure going to need the A to bring it up, past that 3-point mark. So like I already mentioned, hire tutors. So look at getting a tutor. If you think you're going to struggle, you can go to nursemoneytalk.com/tutor. You can talk to whatever program, go to whatever like school you're at. You can then see if they have like study hall or, academic tutors or whatnot that your tuition's already paying for. If you don't want to go the private tutor route. And then you might actually be asking yourself then, what happens if you already have prereqs? If you've already have all your prereqs taken and you're just needing to bump up your GPA, at that point you could look at taking classes that interest you, maybe your classes that you would like to learn more of, once again with an emphasis on trying to bring up your GPA. Now, if you're in a situation where you're trying to, maybe your school, like looking at a science GPA is really important, then maybe look at retaking some of those science some of those science classes if you haven't done really well on them. Now, I think in a lot of cases, they'll actually average those grades in. So like if you, if you made like a C on the first, like let's say it was like General Chem 1, like you made a C and then you retook it and then you made an A. Sometimes they'll just average it together, and so it won't replace the C. It'll be like a C and an A will be in there, which, if you look at average, it'll be like a B. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. I guess let me know in the comments if that doesn't really make any sense. And so you can do that to kind of help bring up your grades. Once again, working really hard to make sure you're getting A's. Now, if you asked me which one I would do, unless your grades are really, really bad, like below a 2.5, if they're on the higher side, like about the 3 point, I would probably just look for another school. I think that's really what I would do. Big chunk of the reason why is because, and I already made a video on that, which, I'll put that up, actually it'll be up here. I'll put that up here. But in that video, like I talked about how, like, the nursing school you go to really doesn't matter as much as you think it does. This is assuming that the school, is actually accredited and you can sit for boards and the whole gamut. And so if there's another school that's in the area where you want to be at, or so if you want to stay in state and there's another school there that kind of checks all those boxes, then you might just be better off just switching programs. Because the thing about it is, like, and I think we, at times we can get very emotionally involved in whatever school we're going to. But I think one thing, a good way to look at this, that it is an investment. It's an investment in your future, and you really kind of need to look at kind of like the ROI, the return on investment on what you're doing. So, you have to think about all the extra time, all the extra, money, everything else you're putting into maybe trying to get into that one specific school when you can go accomplish the same thing at another school. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please for sure hit that thumbs up. Share this with anybody else you think that has been struggling, kind of going through the same decision and not really sure what to do. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Once again, every kind of link that I mentioned or whatnot, you'll see that in the descriptions below, so definitely check those out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you very soon in that next video.